Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Unfiltered and Unashamed. We are here today for a fun Friday.
Fun Friday.
And we decided we both have completely different work experience and environments.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there is actually some overlap. We both meet with people in a private room.
This is true. I feel like my past experience of being in maybe a bigger salon would put in a completely different place because there are so many people, so much more drama, and a lot of youngsters.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just different
Topics that came up.
Yeah, different topics for sure. But with that, we kind of just wanted to share just some funny little stories that we might have, or a story each, that just to keep it fun and lighthearted and give you something to either think about or question why people are the way they are or whatnot. So, why don't you let us give us something that you have that's
on the tip of my tongue?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know when this is going to post exactly.
Sure.
Or what the weather will be like, but I will say that we have rain and snow. It's alternating this morning.
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
It's a rather wet day.
It is
out.
And it's been, this week has also been, what day is today? So today is Friday.
Today actually is a Friday.
School was canceled Wednesday.
Right.
So it has been,
yeah.
And so now we're back to the rain and snow, and I think more snow tonight. I don't know.
Hopefully it clears.
Yeah.
But it's very wet out is where I'm going. Okay. So I'm going to tie this back around.
Okay. Yeah. I was like, oh, are we talking about the weather? All right. Didn't know we were doing that.
So back in the day, in a different lifetime, when I worked at a hospital as a hospital social worker, we would do rounds every day.
Sure.
I would participate in rounds. And so that would be the physician, social work, dietitian, pharmacist, bedside nurse, charge nurse, PT, OT, speech.
You would all round together?
And respiratory therapy.
A lot of people.
Yep. So everybody would sit down, talk about whatever they needed to about each patient. By default or whatever, I'm not going to get into all the social, cultural, whatever, because this is a fun Friday and we're not going to do that today.
Yes.
So generally speaking, the physician was male, our pharmacist was male, pretty much everyone else was female.
Okay.
And so sometimes we like to pick on the boys a little bit.
Sure.
And I learned one day inadvertently that one of those men was very reactive to the word moist.
Okay. A lot of people don't like that word.
A lot of people don't like that word.
I mean, I think of bread personally.
Bread?
Banana.
Oh.
Baking. Like you want your cake to be moist. You want your...
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know why in this context it's not really relevant to the setting, but this particular man, like the tips of his ears would turn bright red if you use the word moist.
How weird.
And so,
it's like an embarrassment factor. Like he gets like uncomfortable.
Okay. Uncomfortable. And
how old?
Our age.
Okay.
Yeah. Our age. Yeah. Which is interesting because like no one gets uncomfortable talking about really anything at the hospital, right? Like,
sure.
It's
like all out there.
You've seen it all. You've talked about it all. Bodies are gross, but amazing, etc. Like it's pretty hard to make somebody uncomfortable. But that word would. And so at different points in time, myself and maybe one or two other people would just randomly decide that we were going to use moist as often as possible.
And he would react
every time.
Oh.
Every time. And it was
really, I mean, that's funny to me that like there's so much reaction to it that it would just like you couldn't even deaden him to it.
No.
Was he in a relationship?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh. So it wasn't even like sexual immaturity necessarily.
No.
It just was.
No, it was just that word was that uncomfortable. So I just,
So you're like, hey,
sometimes
right?
I like to
you like to push the envelope and well, I think it's also
or say the thing
pushed out of their comfort zone,
or say the thing that maybe people are liking, but they don't say it out loud. I'll say it.
How do you tie the word moist into medical jargon? Be rounding.
Oh, you could have a wound dressing that's moist.
And he would still, it was, oh, gross. Really? It would still get him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's ways. Or you just randomly be like, or you would say, bringing this all back around, it's so moist outside with the rain.
Ground is really moist.
The ground is really moist.
And oh my gosh.
It's humid. It's making me moist. Do we have enough?
Kind of gross.
Do we have enough humidity in that intubation tube? Or is it
needed to be? Oh, sure.
So you just read their shit. I mean, you come up with.
That's funny. Yeah, and it's always kind of fun to. I mean, not that so it was. You said the males were the doctor and the pharmacist, which maybe are a little bit can maybe have more of like that like head honcho sort of big man.
It depended.
Sure,
I think it depended.
But so then just the fact that you could get somebody on that level to kind of buckle and be at your
right.
Yeah.
Right. You can like if somebody being like they're super serious. And don't get me wrong, we always took patient care serious.
Sure.
I'm not saying that.
Right.
But if you could get somebody who is like in a very serious speech and then all of a sudden drop that in.
You gave them their kryptonite.
Right.
That was what it was. Do you have kryptonite?
Do I have a kryptonite? Yeah, but I don't.
You don't want to display that for the world? I don't know what mine is. I'll have to think about that. Anyways. Interesting. Yeah, but that was that. Yeah, that you can. It's kind of like just reminding them like, hey, yeah, I know. Don't fuck with me. Maybe I think it's kind of that don't fuck with me attitude. Yeah. Which you have. Which I love.
It's just kind of fun.
Yeah, that is fun. Mine definitely also has to do with a man. Completely opposite.
Maybe we just like picking on men.
Maybe you said it. I didn't. So being in a salon and the job that I do as an esthetician, most of my services are done behind closed doors. And that is from eyebrow wax. Now some places have an open floor plan, open format, not myself. So where I was working at the time, there were 2 levels and upstairs was more of like the hair area and downstairs was the spa. And
so it was a building with like private salon suites?
No.
Okay.
Open salon. I was a full blown salon. So upstairs it had like open salon concept and there were stylists. And then downstairs it was massage and aesthetics rooms. And you know, especially when you're first out in the industry and the business, you don't have your own clients. So you're seeing new people all the time. You don't know anything about them. Where I worked, they would have, at the beginning of your day, you would get your schedule and it would tell you the name of the people and if they'd been there before, if they'd seen you before or what other services they had done there. So this, it was like summertime and, men decide all of a sudden that they want to be hairless in the summertime. I don't do any really body waxing now, but back then I did do more body waxing. Now I personally never did downtown body waxing on females or males. I could not get over the fact that it hurt so fucking bad that I didn't want to do that on people.
Sure.
So but this particular day I had a male and his name was, I think it was Charlie, honestly, or Chuck, or it was like one, I don't know, it doesn't fucking matter. So I bring him down and, I go up front. Hey, Charlie, why don't we head on down? And basically you would, you just go into the room and start ask them to take their shirt off. I'd like to give modesty. So whenever I'd be like, oh, go ahead and take your shirt off and lay, face down, I would, generally turn my back and like grab gloves or do something just to kind of, because sometimes, you don't want to disrobe in front of somebody. And this guy, so I turned around after, I'd done what I got my gloves on and whatnot. And he is laying face down on the table and he has his shorts shoved up his butt crack. Butt cheeks are fully exposed.
Like gym shorts?
Yeah, like not the long ones. I mean, they were like shorter, more of the like 70s stylish shorts, but probably not that short. Okay. Right. And he was not a young man.
Okay.
And he was probably in his 50s.
And he wants his cheeks.
No,
Oh,
No.
oh, okay.
No.
Keep going. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out where this is going.
He just wants the back wax.
Okay.
He's there to get his back wax.
Okay.
So he had his butt cheeks out. Now, mind you, I'm 23, maybe 24. And immediately I'm like, oh no. I said, oh, excuse me, I'll be right back. And I go up to the front desk and I was like, listen, this dude is like weird. I'm not going to wax him by myself. So they made this poor girl come down in the room with me, and I knocked on the door and I said, oh, hey, Charlie. You know what? I actually have somebody who's training with me today. So she's just going to, stay here and train and watch the service or whatnot. And he was like, okay. So I waxed his back and whatever. And
meanwhile, his cheeks are still out.
He walked all the way up he walked all the way up the stairs. And this is something, he did this a total, I know for a fact, of 3 times at this space. He did it to another girl, same sort of thing. Like I don't know if it's as he's walking, he's hiking them up. I don't know. He also came in for like a haircut, and he like had cheeks exposed for that. I mean, he sat down, but it's
okay. Is this Fun Friday or is this Predator Alert?
I mean, maybe it's double down. I mean, it's so crazy because people are,
that's not normal.
No, I don't think he was a normal man. I think he had some issues. I mean, and there would be people who, mostly males, who would call and ask for just different services that you're like, that seems a little weird. Like the way they ask it, and not mostly asking for like a happy ending sort of thing, but they want certain things done.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's their place that they think they can get it done is in a spa, maybe because you generally get naked. I don't know. I mean, there were a couple guys that just were definitely a little different. Yes, odd requesters. But I had never had a man make me feel in my work environment feel uncomfortable as that. Because number one, your thoughts are, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Is this real?
Mm-hmm.
How do I address the situation without,
I stay safe,
without creating a threat to myself? And so, that was, that's really a funny story, but it is one that sticks out. I mean, it was funny at first. It was, yeah.
And then we learned about some history.
Yeah. He was a little different.
That's funny.
That is funny. I'm trying to think if I have another funny story. I don't know. I mean, I think that's what you get when you work in that industry for sure, is you get just more weirdo stories. And I had a story where I had a man come in for a spray tan, and he definitely was very gay. And so this man, he was like, I said, go ahead and keep your underwear on. And he's like, oh, I don't have any underwear. It was like, gross. Number one, we've had that conversation too.
Right.
But
strong component of wearing undies.
Number two,
or panties, if you will, which is another word that is right up there with moist.
For some people, it really is.
Yeah.
And so it was just that conversation. Do you know what disposable underwear are? Are you familiar?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had female version of disposable underwear, and I basically was like, tuck it all in, I guess. I mean, it worked. It was fine. Not really a funny story as well, but being in the spa industry,
maybe it's Quirky Friday.
There you go. That might be it, because it is kind of even with yours. It's just behavior.
They're quirks.
Yeah. Very weird behavior from people. And then at that, I mean, we have some women I could probably tell stories about too that, that were crazy or, different things like that. But yeah, I mean, our professions are, you can't share.
I can't share very much really now. I mean, I could potentially talk about colleagues, but
sure, that can get a little
not going to give any specifics about anyone that I've seen.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah,
and respectable.
Yeah,
I will tell everything. No, I'm kidding.
To like trends.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, does it go in trends? Like, do you hear people coming in? Really?
I think it goes in trends.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
What's the trend currently?
Well, in theory, it's because we all have a collective unconscious.
Oh, getting deep.
That's not for a Fun Friday or Quirky Friday.
What's the theory?
The theme right now, everyone's really struggling with like grounding themselves. Like if if you had an anxiety scale that you equated to a pain scale 1 through 10, like if people's baseline is normally a 2 or 3,
they're at like 7.
Their baseline right now is at 5 or 6.
Okay.
So anything that happens
it's just
amped up.
Yeah.
More
I
intense.
feel that.
Huh?
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I think it's interesting as the clients that I've had coming in when I always, hey, how are you? And I keep getting the like,
a lot of deep
breathing, a lot of like, well, fine. And then I have other people who just feel like they float through life without any cares.
I don't have many of those people that I cross paths with.
No, not in your line of work. Probably not in your line of work, which is good for you.
I mean, you're not reaching out to me because everything's amazing.
Maybe they want some help.
Usually they can
have that on their social media. I think I have a lot more probably shocking, like things that I go home and I'm like, can you believe this? I have some affair stories that I've gotten, and crazy behavior from that. Like women that handle it differently. Everyone handles it differently. And that's always fun to kind of be on the back burner for those conversations and hearing how, I drove by his girlfriend's apartment again and his car was there and and XYZ. I think people forget how small communities are and how things interlink. And that is probably the hardest part of my job. You have to keep kind of everything locked in and be cautious of that. Mine is, don't ever think that somebody doesn't know somebody.
Yeah. And
I think people gravitate towards each other. So people who gravitate towards me probably have the similar sort of friends. And I have a lot of clients who have been interlinked in different ways and you find that out. So you gotta be a little cautious. So maybe that's where I also have my limits of telling stories. I would never want someone to feel like I'm using their experience with me as a entertainment factor.
Right.
But there are some that it's just like, what happened? You're like, are you kidding me?
Or they might laugh at themselves.
Yes. So, there's that. But yeah, I think that's kind of just our little fun.
That's the fun
Friday.
So,
and I don't know why I just said fun flip Friday. Quirky Friday.
I don't know. Ladies, I would challenge you, if you can, to drop the word moist and or panties into a conversation and see how people react, because I think it's entertaining.
Yeah, panties doesn't bother me at all. But now, see, I don't say panties. I say panties.
Well,
I say panties.
Panties.
Oh, see, I feel like I would be like, hey, do you have panties on? I take the T out.
You say it faster.
Well, that too.
Do you have panties on?
Yeah, I do have panties on.
Yeah. And no, I
okay.
For sure have the T and you don't. It's like you and I have a few words that we pronounce differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the dialects that we grow.
Sure. Yeah, I have that.
And that's probably one of them.
It probably very well could be
panties versus panties.
That is one, I suppose. And then
sack and
sack. I can't. Now it's hard for me to bring that back.
We used to pick on each other a little bit in high school about how we said a few words.
To me, it was beg,
right?
Because everyone was like, the way this Midwest says bag,
it's or sack.
Yeah, bag, and I would and I would say beg, right? No longer. Does that really? Sometimes it comes out, but I will say, it's hard. I have to focus on it. I will say beg, and then people were like, well, "That's what a dog does," and I'm like, "No, a dog begs with an E." And yeah, and I also say aunt.
Yeah, I've moved to saying aunt more than aunt.
And it kills me how people don't say aunt. And I don't know why, but I'm like, but there's a you. And then, well, it's aunt. I'm like, no, there's a you.
Yeah. That's another word that very much your pronunciation depends on
where you grew up. And warsh. I had never heard the word warsh. For you that don't know, warsh with an R is how some people pronounce wash. Yeah. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why somebody would say that. I don't know. And I never heard that until I moved here. Ever. No one had ever said the word wash.
Yeah, I have one aunt. Who pronounces it wash.
Yeah. And I
which is interesting because none of her siblings pronounce it that way.
Yeah, that's weird. That's just, maybe it's just the way that it just comes out of their mouth. I don't know.
Could be.
I don't know. Personally, I think it's wash, but
Yeah,
you do you.
No.
You do you. Yeah. There is no R in wash. So with that, we'll leave you with that conundrum of the English language. Follow us on unfiltered.unashamed on Instagram, unfiltered and unashamed on Spotify and YouTube.
Yep.
And then we have our Gmail, which is unfilteredunashamed@gmail. You can send us any questions, comments, drop us anything. We're here for ideas and share your thoughts. If you have any fun, crazy, ridiculous work stories,
Oh, we would love to hear those. I would love to pick them apart.
I would love to share them. Yes, like we will share them. So that would be something that would be fun to do. But
and you can be as anonymous as you want to.
Yeah, we'll change all names, locations, all of it. It'd be like a whole little fun little side project.
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.